has developed some taste for hearing the Ananta Katha, the unlimited discussion of Krishna's Leela, or the discussion of the unlimitedly sweet Krishna, then what is the use of that person even taking birth as the very high-class Brahmin? No, more than that, what is the use of that person taking birth is as Lord Brahma, the secondary creator of the universe and head of the entire dynasty of Brahmanas. And conversely, if a person has taken birth as Lord Brahma or a high-class Brahmin, if they do not awaken a taste for the Katha of Krishna, then what was the use of it? It means both. This was Uddhav's realization. Uddhav spoke this. We'll come to this later. So, yesterday we were hearing how when Krishna returned from Ujjain, from Gurukul, there he met with Rohini, who had returned to Mathura from Vraja, and actually she was feeling so much pain, remembering the separation of Nanda, Yashoda and other vrajabasis, that she could not contain it and keep it inside. And so she shared that with Krishna in the hope that it might inspire him to return to Braj. But it didn't. Krishna thought, I cannot go there. Because Braj is not fortified, not protected. And all the allies of Kamsa Maharaj will try to attack me, or even if they know I have a sambandha with the devotees of Vrndavan, they may attack only to spite me. Envious people can do anything. And so Krishna felt it was extremely important that everyone should think he's the son of Vasudeva and Devaki, and he's not a Gopa or not from that place and has no relation with them. So, Krishna decided, I need to send a messenger. So do you remember, what was Krishna's deliberation when he thought, I have to send a messenger? What kind of messenger must it be?
The messenger who knows my Aishwarya and as well as my Madhurya.
Yes, someone who knows, who is acquainted with my Aishwarya and my Madhurya. Why?
Because he has to. Because if he only knows the Madhurya, then I forget. It's too much.
You see? Does anyone remember?
Чтобы он мог расстроить vrajabasis.
Not to upset them. No. Okay, Vrndavan, listen.
Because if he has only Madhurya, then if he sees the devotees in the condition as they are, then he will also be devastated.
Yes. So first thing, if he only has Madhurya, then when he sees their condition of separation of gopis and any Nanda Yashoda, any Vrajabasi, even the cows, then that person will be completely devastated, seeing their separation. And on the other hand, what if that person only has Aishwarya? Another chance. Anyone? Yes, exactly. Actually, in the Sanskrit he says kumati. Kumati means like a bad intelligence. What's wrong with these people? If he knows God is everywhere and he's satisfied seeing Paramatma is everywhere and Krishna is Paramatma, and he sees them all, you think they have kumati, it's bad intelligence. And what if he sends a neutral person who does not have knowledge of Krishna's Aishwarya or Madhurya? First, he'll be useless. Secondly, the point was that he'll impose that person will impose thoughts on me, thinking, why is he so premadhina, under their control of their love? Why is he so emotionally affected by this? Premadhinata. So, says, you have heard yesterday, this qatar is very deep and marmic, it's of the heart. It's necessary to chant and think and deliberate on these topics by becoming absorbed in the remembrance of Krishna in this way. Then Krishna becomes present before you. Krishna is there in his, when we remember his qualities, Krishna's deliberations. You see? There is the roop of Krishna. There you see his form. But what about his swarup? That means his nature. You can see how he stands. But how does he think? Unless we understand the person's heart, actually we cannot serve him. Because service is what is done to please the heart of the object of one's service. So, another qualification. Yes. He should have affection for both the madhurya-basis and the vrajabasis, and also be respected by both. So, Krishna said to Uddhav that Na tatha me priyatama, no one is so dear to me, not Lord Brahma, not Shiva, not Balaram, not my own Atma. Even my own Atma is not as dear to me as you. Why?
It's his Atma.
Because his heart is Vrndavan, but he left. So he's very cruel.
You have some idea. Here the word Atma means my form, my spiritual form. Here, like Krishna said in Bhagavad Gita, Ajopi sana vyayatma, I am unborn and my body never deteriorates, it is endless. So even though we know there's no difference between Krishna's soul and his body, Shastra tells us, Deha dehi vivago yam neshre vidyate kochit. In Kurma Purana, it is said that there is never a difference between Deha and Dehi, the body and the embodied, in regard to God. For us, Deha, body, and Dehi, who lives in the body, they are very distinct. But for Bhagavan, there is no difference at all. But here, Krishna speaking in a madhurya bhav, he's saying that here, you are more dear to me than my Atma. Why? Because when you Uddhav, when you hear news about the residents of Vrndavan, I've seen you. You begin to tremble and your heart is melting, even your body seems to be melting. But when I listen, then I make myself very hard. I have to, that is, I have to suppress and hide my feelings here. But I see you are melting. So it seems that my sarup, my form, which I've taken away from the vrajabasis, is very cruel. But when you hear about them, you melt. And so you are more dear to me than my own sarup, than my own form, which has left the vrajabasis. Because my form is cruel to them, but your form is very kind to them. So you are more dear to me. So, also, Uddhav is the right person because since his childhood he was totally absorbed in love for Krishna. And when he came to Kishore age, what happened? His color. He was golden and absorbing Krishna, he became the same complexion as Krishna. And he disguised his love as Vayurog, yes, a disorder of the life as. Which Vayurog brings about madness, makes one act in a delirious way. So, also, Krishna wanted to send someone who could relate his message so perfectly. And he was thinking, Uddhav is such a person. What feeling comes in my heart? It comes in the heart of Uddhav. And he can express it better than me even. He is not less than me. And we discussed how when Krishna in this way was deliberating, who can I send to Vrndavan? And he was thinking about Uddhav. What happened to Krishna when he was thinking of Uddhav? Spurti. How beautiful it is that as the devotees thinking of Krishna, they see spurti of him. But Krishna loves his devotees so much that Krishna himself, when he thinks of them, then Krishna has the spurti of his own devotee. Astonishing. So, Krishna saw Uddhav, and there were many yadus walking around here and there. But what he wanted to say to him was very secret and very confidential. So he took Uddhav away to a solitary place, and then holding Uddhav in his hands in his hand, he began to speak to him. He told Uddhav that there was a spear in his heart, giving pain, and this pain was very difficult to uproot. This time Krishna was crying, and his tears were falling onto Uddhav's hand, and Uddhav began to tremble and weep also. So then, we know that Krishna said, Priti na pratima vaha. I want you to console my parents. But first he began to describe the love of his parents, to create some eagerness in the heart of Uddhav. How much they are suffering in separation from him. I must go and serve Krishna in this capacity. So, Krishna said, how is my mother? She feels happiness when I feel happiness. Even when she feeds me, her hunger goes away. She feels satisfied just by feeding me. She protects me and caresses me and nurtures me like her own pran. And Krishna said, what happened? My mother, she tied me up. For what reason? Oh, why did you waste food? This is very bad. Another reason is not told here but elsewhere. It said that because Krishna was feeding the butter to the monkeys, his mother said, hey Vrndavan, friend of the monkeys. And Krishna replied to his mother, if I am the monkey's friend, then I should go to the forest and live with them. So as a little baby he was making a threat. Oh, you want to criticize me? I'll run away and then we'll see what happens. Sometimes children, they know how to put some fear in their parents. So for these reasons I cannot leave him I have chores to do in the house. I cannot leave him unattended and he may run away. So I have to teach him a lesson, I have to tie him. So she was also thinking, what about his future? Because if a child, when they're very small, they're wayward and independent, then when they grow up they'll never listen to anyone. Instead of learning from the good advice and experience of those who are older, they will have to learn the hard way by making many, many mistakes and many problems will come in their life. So, thinking, what will happen when he grows up? With this in mind, I'll have to give him some strict discipline. Who can do this? Krishna said, never, Krishna told Uddhav, never did anyone in the past or in the future, to any large or small degree, ever bind me. We don't see that any incarnation of Lord Narayan, Lord Nrsimhadev, even Lord Ramachandra, no, even Dwarkadish or Mathura, Krishna in Mathura, no one ever bound him. And in such a way that also he could not escape. So then, Uddhav described, so Krishna described, he wanted to express what is the extent of his premadhinata. Adin means subordinate. Krishna is Prem Adin. He becomes subordinate to the love of his devotees. And what's important to know, as Lord Narayan has told, Aham bhakta paradino yashvatanta ivadvija. He said, don't think that my devotees love me, so I choose to be subordinate to them. But rather, it's my swabhav, it's my nature, that when they have such love, I become helpless. It's not my choice, that's my swabhav. Just as water by nature is a liquid, and by itself it cannot give up its nature. So Krishna's heart is liquid rasa, very, very soft. And he cannot give up his nature of being subordinate to the love of his devotees. Jai Jai Sisi Radha Shama Sundar Juki Jai. So this is essential to understand. If you think that God is so kind to his devotees that when they love him, he pretends to be less than them or allows himself to be controlled by them, then you are Vaikuntha-basi. You cannot go to Vraja because this is not the Brajanda Nandan Shama Sundar. The person you are thinking is Krishna. This Krishna you are praying to, that's not Krishna of Braj, who is so merciful that he makes himself subordinate to his devotees' love. The Krishna of Braj, he is helpless. You cannot, when they love him in that way, his mother ties him, he cannot get out. Actually, he cannot. He's not pretending. That prayer is there in the prayers of Queen Kunti. Queen Kunti said, when I think of you as a child, with kajal smeared on your face and washing over your face by tears, and you have fear in your eyes of your mother, then remembering this, I become bewildered. Kunti Devi is saying this, the mother of the Pandavas. So Srila Vishnu Thakur said, this verse is essential to understand. Without this, anyone cannot enter into raganuga-bhakti. The question is, why is Kunti Devi bewildered? And the answer is this, that when she meditates upon the frightened eyes of baby Krishna being afraid of his mother, she sees that he's not God, he's God, yes, but he's not pretending to be afraid. He's actually afraid. But because she's a resident of Hastinapur, and that means an associate of Dwarkadish Krishna, she's thinking, who is Krishna? Apana sansutim goram yannama vivasogrinan tatha sadyo vimuccheta yad viveti swayam bayam. Living beings, Sutta Goswami is saying, living beings who are entangled in the complicated meshes of birth and death in the material world can be freed, released immediately, even if they call out helplessly one time, Krishna! Because what to speak of Krishna? Even the name of Krishna is feared by fear itself. What to speak of Krishna? Being afraid. Even the name of Krishna is feared by fear personified. So, this is known to the residents of Dwarka, Hastinapur. They know this. So when she's thinking and remembering the eyes of Krishna as a baby and he's afraid, she sees he's actually afraid. So once a devotee, the shobha, the beauty of this quality of Krishna is appearing in their heart. Oh, now they may enter into this ragamag, the path of raganuga-bhakti. Because their Ishtadev, the Krishna whom they are serving, is actually Krishna of Braja and not of Dwarka, Mathura or Golok or anyone. Understand? So, now, we heard yesterday, Krishna gave an example to Uddhav to illustrate the extent of his premadhinata, his quality of being controlled by the love of his devotees. So what was that?
That if someone just called by, like Mama, so she cannot do anything.
Yes, the reason Krishna gave Prem to Putana, who came to kill him. You can analyze it in a philosophical way. You can say Krishna is beyond duality. So Krishna does not see the good and bad qualities of anyone. Like that, so like this. But Krishna himself is not saying that. Krishna is saying that I have so much love for Mother Yashoda. My heart melts so much when I think of Mother Yashoda, that if anyone comes and just is remotely disguised as her or acts a little bit like her, I'm just like, yes, I love you. So the decision to give Prem to Putana, it wasn't so much of like a philosophical idea for Krishna, but it was because he's so blinded by love of Mother Yashoda that even if someone will, Lord Brahma is saying, Sadveshat api iva putanapi sakula tad devapita, means that as soon as she came to me, because my heart was melting, remembering my mother, and she was coming like a mother, then I gave her Prem, and also decided to deliver her whole dynasty, everything, her brothers, everyone. And they're all family complete demons, murderers, cannibals. She drinks, try to understand Putana. Putana says, Balaghatini, Rudirakshana, Rudrasana, means that Putana is a murderer of children and she drinks the blood of babies. Okay? Not a very nice character. So this is the extent how Krishna is melting and completely helpless, and due to the love of Mother Yashoda, if someone will just remotely imitate her, his mercy flows to them, even someone so evil. So Uddhav, he had heard from other sources something about the madhurya, the sweetness of the love of the residents of Vrndavan. But now Uddhav, he was enthralled, he was riveted, because he was hearing about this love from the lips of Krishna himself. So then, Sri Krishna, he became lost in a thoughts. He was thinking, how strange it is. It seems to me that the residents of Mathura are pratibimba. Yeah. This is a marvelous thing. Ultimately, the origin of everything is Sri Krishna's Vrajalila. But the prem of the vrajabasis, in their prem they see glories of Krishna. This is the prema janita gyan, knowledge which comes from the overflowing of their prem. And all these other realms, they're truly a manifestation of the love, ultimately of Radharani. So we see that the associates of Vraja, they can be found in those realms, in their pratibimbas. Just like Krishna has a friend in Vraj called Madhumangal. This same Madhumangal is there in the Dwarka, he comes, and also in Vaikuntha as Narad Muni. So Madhumangal is his madhurya-aspect, and Nag Muni is his Aishwarya aspect. Sridham, Radharani's elder brother, who is a very close friend of Krishna. He's a little bit older. Sridham, when Krishna in Vaikuntha becomes Lord Narayan, then Sridham becomes Garuda. Garuda is the Sridham, his expansion in Vaikuntha. In this way, what a strange thing. So when Krishna leaves, he sees the residents of Mathura, and somehow they make him create a contemplation remembrance of residents of Vrndavan. But the residents of Vrndavan, when he sees them, he never thinks of anyone else. So, we heard yesterday how Krishna, he spoke the 4 verses. In Bhagavatam, the 4 verses. I think maybe I said 5 yesterday. There are 4 verses. And of these 4 verses, only 1/4 of a verse, 1 line, describes the parents. Nothing describes the sakhas. And all of the rest only describes the gopis. So, Uddhav said, Krishna said to Uddhav, you can console my parents by your cleverness, by your diplomacy, by your sweetness and your poetic nature. Find the right words to console them and to pacify them. But with the gopis, don't use your own intelligence. Bhagavatam says, mat-sandeshar vimochaya. Just give them my sandesh, my messages. So, Krishna gave an example. Just as if there's a donor, a charitable person, and he comes to the best of brahmanas, and he supplies the best of brahmanas with he gives some donation to them in charity as his dharma. Then the brahmanas family and all their das and dasis, their servants and maidservants, everything, they're automatically satisfied. So I am giving you these messages, and these messages are for whom? The implication is, he said the love of the parents is they are saral prakriti, very straightforward. You can understand them. But the love of gopis is teri, very crooked. Aheri vagati premna, like the movement of a snake. And among them, those gopis who are the main gopis, the Yuteshwaris, the leaders, and their close sakis like Lalita and so on, you should give my messages to them. And if you will pacify their separation, then automatically the separation of all their dasis, their other less significant friends and maidservants, they'll all be pacified. So here, Srila Jiva Goswami is giving some hint, because those who are in his parampara, especially, they aspire to be dasi of Radhika. So one should think of this katha, how Uddhav his message is bringing, Krishna's message given through Uddhav is bringing consolation to Radhika. And by Radhika's consolation, then all the maidservants become consoled. Krishna said to Uddhav, actually, before you, I sent many messages. to Braj. I have sent different persons with messages. And they told vrajabasis what I told them to say. They did this. But they did not use their own intelligence at all. But you, Uddhav, you are Shishyo Brihaspate Sakshad Uddhavo Buddhisattama. In Srimad Bhagavatam, this is the first verse of this chapter. Vrishni Nam Pravaro Mantri. If you want to learn the Uddhav Tattva, then these verses you have to know. Vrishni Nam Pravaro Mantri Krishnasya Daita Saka. Shishyo Brihaspate Sakshad Uddhavo Buddhisattama. This one. And the other verse spoken by Krishna, Na tata me priyatama atmanuyonena sankara. No one is as dear to me as you. These are important verses in regard to the personality of Uddhav. All aspects of his personality are here in these verses are like a zip file. All the aspects have been given in essence in these verses. So Krishna said in Srimad Bhagavatam, Shishyo Brihaspate Sakshad. You are the direct disciple of Brihaspati. What does that mean? Jiva Goswami is bringing out the meaning here. That I sent other people with messages. They went and they just told what I said. But that's not enough. Because Brihaspati is the guru of all the demigods. And you're his direct disciple. That means that you are extremely intelligent. In other words, I'm going to give you many messages and I just want you to repeat them. But you have to use your fine intelligence to decide which message to say at which time and to which gopi. When is the right time? You can say something to someone, but it doesn't work, they don't understand, it's not effective. If you tell them at an inopportune moment, at the wrong time, if their bhav is going this way and you say something related to the feeling going this way, then what? So, here Srila Jiva Goswami will bring out the brilliance of Uddhav, how he became sensitive to the feelings of the gopis, their rising waves of Sanchari Bhavs, and then chose to say this message or that message at the appropriate times to the appropriate gopis. So, Krishna said, Uddhav, I am sending you for all of these reasons. I am sending you as my pratinidhi, as my representative. Then Uddhav, he became filled with harsha, jubilation, and his voice choked with emotion. Why? Because though he did not want to leave Krishna, but Krishna, by speaking all of these words, he's awakened in Uddhav some greed. He's considering the prospect. With my own eyes, will I behold such rare personalities whose love has such sway over Krishna, whose devotion is unparalleled, in comparison with anyone I have ever seen. So Uddhav was in ecstasy and his voice became choked. And when Krishna told him, you have to, being so intelligent, say the right message at the right time to the right gopi, then Uddhav said, Avina, Avina is like a sitar, but with the gourd at both ends. Sitar has only one end. Veena is the instrument played by Narada Muni. He said that Avina cannot play any ragas. The veena itself cannot play any ragas. But in the hands of a qualified musician, then all the sadjan, all those who are cultured, appreciate the nectar of the ragas. By this he was implying to Krishna that, oh Krishna, I am just like a veena. I cannot make any sound. What can I say? So only if by your mercy you inspire me, then I will be able to say the right message at the right time to the right gopi. So this is one on the 12 steps of humility. One of the steps is the acknowledgement of one's unworthiness. The acknowledgement of one's unworthiness. Ayogyata. Yogyata means worthiness. If you have the chance to do some devotional service, and you think, yes, I can do this. No, this will not be devotional service. Considering, it is a great privilege to have this opportunity. I am not worthy of this service, but by mercy I am being engaged. So Uddhav is especially, actually he has no idea what's waiting for him in Vrndavan, because Vrndavan is such a place. Anyone cannot imagine. But still he knows it will be something wonderful, and he's feeling unworthy to be able to carry out this very, very important mission for Sri Krishna. So he expressed this by giving the example, I am like a veena. Only the ragas will come if a very expert musician will play. And that is what? That means your mercy moving in me. So then, it was agreed. And Krishna said, come with me. And Krishna took Uddhav to Balaram. And he told Balaram, I'm sending Uddhav to Vrndavan. Any other Yadu Bangsi should not know. Balaram can know. And then Balaram and Krishna, then they took Uddhav to Rohini. So only those who are in the Vrindavan circle are allowed to know. And so then, Srila Sanatana Goswami in his commentary, he said that when Krishna brought Uddhav to Balaram, Balaram was actually disappointed. Because Balaram wants Krishna himself to go. He's thinking, the residents of Vrindavan, they cannot be satisfied by anything but your presence. But Balaram, he went along with it. Rohini was the same, looking at Balaram and thinking, is this the best that Krishna can do? He's going to send Uddhav. Anyway, Rohini gave blessings to Uddhav, and Uddhav gave Dandavat Pranam to Rohini. And then Krishna decorated Uddhav with his own cloth, which was fragrant with the fragrance of his body, with his own garland and ornaments as well. So now Uddhav, already his complexion was like Krishna, his features were similar to Krishna, but now he's wearing Krishna's clothes, Krishna's garland and Krishna's ornaments. So how will he appear in the eyes of vrajabasis? So then Krishna, he brought Uddhav to his chariot. This golden chariot was the same chariot that Akrura had come to Vrndavan on. So the vrajabasis, they've seen this chariot before. But now Uddhav will be riding on it. So then, Krishna and Balaram and Rohini, they said to Uddhav, when you are leaving now, if any Yaduvamsi, any resident of Mathura says, "Oh Uddhav, where are you going?" Or if they see that you're going in the direction of Vrndavan, and they ask, "Why are you going to Vrndavan?" then you should tell them, "Oh, I'm going to have a darshan of the Pradhan Tirtha of Vrindavan." Pradhan Tirtha means the main famous holy places in Vrindavan. So in this way, Krishna, Balaram and Rohini, they wanted Uddhav not to let any residents of Mathura know where he was going and for what purpose he was going. So then, Uddhav, he got onto the chariot and he was looking at Krishna with unblinking eyes. His whole body became stunned, and then he pulled away on the chariot. And Krishna was looking, and he was standing there, and in his heart Krishna was thinking, "I want to run behind you, I also want to go, but I cannot go." So here, the transcendental pastimes, the divine activities, they cannot just be understood in terms of looking at what is happening. Just see. Because everything that happens is the movement of rasa. So what happened? Uddhav's journey from Mathura to Vrndavan was such that Uddhav was attracted to Krishna's Aishwarya and somewhat to his madhurya. But by hearing from Krishna, he became more attracted to his madhurya than his aishwarya. And therefore, because his ruchi, his taste in madhurya, became more powerful than his taste in aishwarya, that was pulling him. It was not the horses that were dragging him to Vrndavan. You understand? It was the attraction of his heart. Very beautiful point. Acha. So we have to get everything ready now for the arti. So note all these things deeply in your heart, and we will continue this katha tomorrow. See Uddhav-sandesh ki jai. Or Premanande.